tribunals, and we've actually sent back to the battlefield or sent back to Afghanistan some of the people that we thought were no longer a threat. Some of those people have shown up on the battlefield bearing arms against our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines back on the battlefield after we sent them back. If anything, we've been too liberal with the release of terrorists. And let me tell you, you got guys like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed who said that he planned the attack on 9/11. You've got Osama bin Laden's bodyguards. Those guys get taxpayer paid for prayer rugs. They have prayer 5 times a day. They've all gained weight. The last time I looked at the menu, they had honey glazed chicken and rice pilaf on Friday. That's how we treat the terrorists. They've got health care that's better than most HMOs, and they've got something else that no Democrat politician in America has. They live in a place called Guantanamo, where not one person has ever been murdered, and there's not one politician, one Democrat politician in America that can say that about one of the prisons in his home district. We got to keep Guantanamo open.
Senator Brownback, I want to turn to you, but I want to ask you a different question. On the issue of executive power, would you grant your vice president as much authority and as much independence as President Bush has granted to Vice President Cheney?
No, but I would lean heavily on a vice president for advice and thoughts because I think it's important that the two people come in as a team. I think the president and the vice president ought to come in as a team. I think they ought to have complementarity. I think they ought to have division of duties in some respects. For as far as the president says, I really want to focus on these areas. I'd like for you to do these particular fields. But it's still the president that decides. And it's the president that should have all the information feeding there to him in that position of authority. And you need somebody that has a good broad base of experience to be able to do it. Good broad base of foreign policy experience. And if I could say one thought on this presidential power, because it's important. We've got hundreds of millions of entries into the United States legally each year of individuals that are U.S. citizens and individuals that are not U.S. citizens. This is a big international country. You have to have the ability to be able to find and to understand what's taking place. And I think the president needs to go through judicial power to be able to put wiretaps on different individuals, but particularly on calls that go overseas. We need this because we're not talking about just a needle in a haystack. We're talking about a needle in a hayfield of millions of people that we need to watch, and we need to find with good intelligence who it is that seeks to do us harm.
Thank you very much, Senator. New round, new subject. Chris.
Gentlemen, let's talk about taxes and spending. As you all well know, pledges not to raise income taxes are a big deal here in New Hampshire. 6 of you on this stage have signed the pledge of the Americans for Tax Reform to oppose any increase in marginal tax rates, while 2 of you have not. Senator McCain, why have you refused to sign, and why do you feel that 6 of your 7 colleagues here on the stage are mistaken in deciding to take that pledge?
Because I stand on my record, and my record is 24 years of opposing tax increases, and I oppose them, and I'll continue to oppose them. I think it's very clear that the increase in revenue that we've experienced is directly related to the tax cuts that were enacted, and they need to be made permanent rather than the family budgets and businesses being uncertain about their future. But my proposal in 2000 and 2001 was not just to cut taxes, but to stop spending. And we let spending get out of control. We destroyed the trust and confidence of our Republican base, of fiscal conservatives. We allowed spending to get out of control to the point where it bred corruption. And I don't say that word lightly. We have former members of Congress in federal prison as we speak. I pledge to the American people, I will veto every pork barrel bill that comes across my desk, and I will make the authors of those pork barrel projects famous, and that's what I've been doing for a lot of years.
Senator McCain, if I can follow up for 30 seconds, those tax cuts that you talk about that have given us so much revenue, in fact, you voted against those, and why not, if you are determined to not raise taxes, why not sign the pledge?
Because there's no point. I stand on my record. I don't have to sign pledges. My record stands for itself. It's very clear to the American people. I've been in this business for a long, long time. But the point is that I voted against the tax cuts because there was no restraint in spending. We had automatic restraints in spending included in my tax cut package, and we would be talking about additional tax cuts today if we hadn't let spending get out of control and preside over the largest increase in the size of government since the Great Society. Not a record we should be proud of.
Senator Brownback, are you persuaded by Senator McCain's argument against taking the pledge not to increase marginal tax rates?
Well, he has his own record. He stands on his own record. I think you should sign a pledge. That's why I signed the pledge. I think it's not just a pledge to a group that has it. I think it's a pledge to the American public that we're already taxed to the max. In most states, you're working till about the middle of May to pay your taxes. It is too long. You're working too much for the government, and you need to be working more for yourself. And I push these topics based on I think we need to grow the economy, plus I'd like to be able to see families keep more of their own money, and so that possibly maybe one of them doesn't have to go to work instead of both having to go to work. If more families could keep more of their money instead of it going to the government.